Welcome everybody to the SNN.Network Australia virtual event. I'd like to introduce you to your next presenter today. On behalf of the company EcoGraf, which is a publicly traded company, the symbols are EGR on the ASX and FMK on the Frankfurt. Managing Director, Andrew Spinks. Andrew, take it away.
Thank you, Robert, for the introduction. EcoGraf, as Robert outlined, is an ASX-listed company. We've spent the last 7 years and over $35 million developing a vertically integrated graphite business, positioned to support the global transition to clean energy and e-mobility. We have developed 3 core pillars of areas to go forward to provide this supply, beginning with the mine on the right-hand side. The key highlights of that development is it's obviously development ready. We're working on a debt financing process with very strong German support. We have the largest state-owned German bank, KfW, supporting a financing for that mine. It's a scalable project and it's going to be a long-term supply of natural flake graphite. In parallel to that, on the left-hand side, is our downstream business where we're going to produce battery graphite for the emerging lithium-ion battery market. Both projects are scalable. The downstream is based on a non-HF or hydrofluoric acid process. It's a clean chemical process, and we believe it'll be the first facility outside of China to produce a clean green battery graphite for the lithium-ion battery market. I guess the most important aspect around those 2 developments is our sales and marketing strategy has been focused on a non-Chinese markets, and we're focused on the 2 largest markets outside of China, which is South Korea, Japan, and Europe. And in the central position on the slide is our recycling business, which is relatively new, but we've taken our proprietary purification process and applied it to recovery of carbon anode material from end-of-life batteries. And this is really an exciting new development for our business. It's creating a lot of interest, and recycling is a very hot topic at the moment. All right, corporate overview of the company. As Robert said, we're listed on the ASX. We've got a secondary listing on the Frankfurt. Our head office is located in Perth, Western Australia. We have a pilot plant in piloting equipment and plant in Germany, where we've done extensive product qualification. I guess that's the backbone and the foundation of the company over the last 7 years on both the mine and the downstream. Is the enormous product qualification that we've been carrying out. Our largest shareholder is Mitsubishi Financial Group at 12%. Board and management have 10% of the company. The board and management have an extensive experience in all facets of the business. We're led by our chairman, Bob Pett. A quick overview of the market opportunity, and I'm sure everybody has seen this significantly, so I won't dwell on it. The lithium-ion battery market opportunity is going to be enormous. What not many people realise is the anode, which is largely all graphite, is a major component of the battery. In fact, over half the battery is graphite. And our business plan, vertically integrated business plan, is to provide an alternate, high-quality, cost-competitive, eco-friendly supply. And at present, all this anode material is coming from China, and there is no diversification of supply. And we see as the market matures, this diversification will be required. The next slide I'd like to present is an overview of the European market, and what we're seeing in Europe is really unprecedented investment. And what is really surprising around all this investment into Europe is the reliance on this Chinese supply. And it's surprising that there's not more efforts looking to establish new supply chains outside of China. But we are seeing that now. Over the last 6 months, I think we've seen significant intent from a lot of these manufacturers and governments looking at sourcing responsibly produced raw materials. And this is significant, the significant opportunity that we see in developing our business. The next slide provides an overview of our downstream business, and as I mentioned, we've developed our own purification process. We've done an enormous amount of work in terms of feasibility, engineering design and studies with the extensive qualification. We've signed our first agreement for our supply with ThyssenKrupp. That's through extensive product testing and qualification. And we've got strong support for establishing our first facility in West Australia with the Australian government. And we're pursuing a debt financing package from the government at present. As you see at the bottom of that slide, the capital investment is modest. The investment is staged. We're going to commence with 5,000 tonnes and then increase to 15,000 tonnes. This is very much matched to market, and the financial returns on that investment is very attractive, as you can see. The next slide is an overview of our facility in Kwinana, Western Australia, and there is a movie. If you'd like to go to our website, there's a fly through and a fly over. There's two overviews of our development, and I guess the key points on our development and the reasoning for locating our facility in West Australia was really the strong government support that we received, and also the strong European customer support looking for this diversification of supply. And we very much see Kwinana becoming a global hub for ethical sourcing of raw materials, and there's enormous investment already going on in Kwinana, West Australia, where other battery-related minerals are being developed, and we see that Kwinana will be a significant location in the future, not only for Europe, but also for the US. The pictures that you can see, the development is staged, as I mentioned, going from 5,000 to 20,000, and we've got a lot of flexibility in terms of scalability of the design, in terms of the front end, micronization, spheronizing, and the purification at the back end. The plant and the development will employ 250 construction workers, and when in full-time production, 60 full-time workers. As I mentioned, the strong government support is both at the federal and state level. Kwinana, and that's a result of Kwinana being a major industrial hub for battery raw materials. We've received lead agency support from the state government, and also we've recently signed an agreement to secure the site, the 6.7 hectare site in Kwinana, and a few weeks ago we were out on site with the Premier of West Australia and also the Minister for Energy, as you can see on the photo on the right hand side. And on top of that, we've got very strong support from Oz Industry, and we've got an advanced funding of circa $8 million on R&D. So that's a summary of our upstream or our downstream business. A quick overview of the recycling business, and an overview of that business is currently all recycling efforts are focused on recovering the cathode metals, the lithium, cobalt, nickel. At the moment, the carbon anode material is not currently recovered and is landfilled, and that's really inconsistent with the new governance coming out of the EU and I guess the battery and EV manufacturers wanting to see greater recycling. We see two production streams in the recycling business: production scrap coming off the shop floor, the waste coming off the shop floor, and the black mass, which is the material that is the residue after hydrometallurgical processes have recovered the metals. The benefits and opportunity of recovering the carbon anode material is really significant. We see it contributing to both a reduction in battery unit costs, but also contributing to lowering the EV carbon footprint. And I can go into that a little bit in more detail a little bit further on. We see the carbon anode material collaboration is key. As this slide shows, the solution is circular. We pick up the material after the hydrometallurgical processes have recovered the metals and recover the carbon anode material to recirculate back into the battery. We've signed our first agreement with the largest lithium-ion battery recycler in South Korea, and we're working on their material to determine the suitability of putting it back into the material, and we see collaboration with other strategic groups as critical to this process. The purification process is identical to the same process that we've developed for our upstream business. It's a chemical process, multi-step. It's cost-effective, eco-friendly. There's no toxic residues, and most importantly, it can be located in any industrial park, given the low impact of the chemical process. The initial results have been very encouraging and positive and ongoing. As you can see on the slide, there's two material types, the production scrap or production waste and black mass, and we've been able to improve the grade from 30 to 50% on the black mass up to 99.6, and we've been able to achieve even higher results on the production scrap, and that's really an exciting result. Putting this material back into the battery is what the industry is seeking, and also what we're seeing in these results is the potential of being able to use it in other materials. The good news on the recovery of this material, as shown in this slide, we're retaining the physical shape of the material, and the importance of that is the product specifications, the physical characteristics is one of the most important aspects of the specifications for meeting the anode manufacturer's requirements for putting this back into the battery. And the microscopic picture you're seeing there is a combination. The oval-shaped material is the natural spherical graphite, and the platey shapes are the synthetic material. We've developed a strategy, a very clear strategy around the reuse and recovery of this high carbon material. As shown on the next slide, on the left-hand side, you'll see the lithium-ion battery anode material, the steps into the cell manufacturing through carbon, slurry and coatings. And very much we see the potential of picking that material up and recovering it and putting it back into the system and developing an in-process closed loop recycling. Further on, as the material goes through into production scrap, which will have to go through a hydrometallurgical process, similar with the end-of-life batteries, the black mass would then go into the EcoGraf process and be sold into the traditional natural graphite markets and the synthetic markets, and ultimately be put back into the battery. This market is going to be extremely large, given the forecast take-up of EVs, and this slide presents an overview of the production scrap market. The figure that you can see is based on Panasonic yield rates, and the loss through production of materials is very high in early production. In fact, it's 30%. And what we're seeing and what is interpreted from this data is the target for static production is still going to yield 10% loss of material, and that's a significant volume in the future to treat, and that largely comes from product testing through the process. There are other greater benefits as well from recycling, as I mentioned, and that is through lowering the carbon footprint. The battery represents over 40% carbon emissions footprint of EV production, and the slide we're looking at is coming from a slide presented in the No Canary presentation last month, and based on Volkswagen, and it clearly shows that the battery, as you can see, is over 40% of the CO2 emissions. So we see recycling of carbon anode material as a really significant opportunity to reduce carbon emissions, and probably the number one opportunity. And both the production scrap and black mass will go towards contributing to those efforts. The next slide provides an overview of, I guess, the unique nature of our business. We believe that our recycling will be a tailor-made and customised solution, bolted on to the existing hydrometallurgical processes to contribute to both those benefits. We also see blending of our EcoGraf downstream battery graphite as, you know, a compelling opportunity to further increase our sales and getting our product into the market as well. But our battery spherical graphite comes in with a credit which will offset some potentially the lower carbon grade of the recovered anode material. So that's where we're working at the moment. We're working on a number of fronts, and believe that we'll be able to commercialise this business in parallel with our downstream business. And finally, I guess an overview of our upstream business, our mine, and I guess this is where we started 7 years ago. We've spent an enormous amount of work, and if anybody's got further interest in this development, there's feasibility studies and an enormous amount of information on site. But we've completed a bankable feasibility study, also an independent engineers review by KfW. And I guess the important aspect of our development now is the project meets the Equator Principles standards, which is a combination of the IFC performance standards and the World Bank health and safety standards. And that's really critical now from the end customer perspective, because all the raw materials, whether it's BMW, Volkswagen, Hyundai, Tesla, you know, they're all wanting ethical sourcing of raw materials, and the work that we've gone into bringing this project into development has been very much structured around meeting those ESG credentials. So we're working with the Tanzanian government to finalise the financing proposal that's been put, which is essentially a $60 million US funding package, and that will bring in a 60,000 tonne per annum graphite, natural flake graphite mine. The capital investment required for the 60,000 is 90, and again, the financial returns are very attractive. So in conclusion, the value proposition of our company is significant. The developments are scalable, the development ready. The initial productions are very modest and matched to market, and as you'll see, the financial returns combined is attractive on both the downstream and upstream. And I must say, this is just the beginning. We'll be scaling this to production as we progress through and the demand comes through from the various markets. So thank you. That ends the presentation. I'll now go over to Q&A and go through the questions. We have one question essentially asks, what makes EcoGraf's project unique and different compared to our peers? And I guess that answer is simply that we're vertically integrated. We're unique now in the fact that we've got a development-ready downstream business, but also the recycling. And I think as the market matures and demand evolves out of Europe, that will be a significant advantage for our sales proposition. So that ends the presentation. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any further questions, please visit our site, which is www.ecograf.com.au, and our code is EGR. So thank you and goodbye.